Republican presidential candidate George Pataki, who's polling at roughly negative 13%, decided to attack Edward Snowden after Snowden launched his Twitter account yesterday. So here's what Pataki said, quote, "Some say you have courage. I saw real courage on September 11th. You are just a traitor who put American lives at risk." All right. Now, that's obviously absurd, number one. But number two, he had to do it. He had to bring up 9/11 immediately. Like, on the right, did they just think that's like a debate ender? Conversation over, drop the mic and walk out? If anything, it's a debate ender in the sense that you automatically lose. We got to come up with a version of Godwin's Law that applies to 9/11 as well. For those of you who don't know, Godwin's Law is like this fake internet rule which says whoever invokes the Nazis first in some kind of a debate loses. And honestly, it's probably true over 80% of the time that you have no out, so you're like, yeah, well, then you're like a Nazi. But, I mean, obviously, it should go without saying that in some situations, Nazi references are perfectly legitimate. So it's not really a real rule, but the sentiment behind it is kind of true, that people over-invoke that in debates. Well, the Republicans go right to this. Oh, yeah? Well, 9/11. And what the fuck is the implication? Like, Pataki's like, I was against 9/11. How about you, Ed Snowden? Huh? I guess you were for it, judging by your actions. Yeah, but that doesn't make any sense. That's clearly not true. In fact, if you really think about it, the crowd that wanted to give away all of our civil liberties and our constitutional rights after 9/11, they're the ones who really gave the terrorists what they wanted. A guy like Edward Snowden is refusing to give the terrorists what they want. If you listen to a lot of the terrorists, they say, if only we can get the Americans to give away all their rights and then, go bankrupt by spending money on all these unnecessary wars. Edward Snowden is the guy who's like, yeah, no, let's preserve our civil liberties. And he risked his life to do that. He gave up, what he was doing. He had to give up his job. He gave up his life at the time with his girlfriend. He didn't know where he was going to end up, but he said, I think this is the right thing to do because the American people need to know when their government is acting in an illegal and unconstitutional way. It's incredible how the right, or I should say many people on the right, have flipped it in their head where somehow they've convinced themselves that Snowden is the bad guy and they're the good guy, even though they're the ones who are against the Constitution and civil liberties, and he's the one that's for them. He said one more thing here, too. Let me run through this. Twitter is a great American company that should not give a platform to terrorists or traitors. Shut down Snowden today. Okay, what? How? Under what interpretation, even a bullshit interpretation, is he a terrorist? And how can you even call him a traitor? Again, he's standing up for American values. You're the one that's trying to tear him down. And another classic, unfortunately, right-wing authoritarian idea of, I dislike this person, censor them, please. But again, that's a signal of, I lose. I can't win in a battle of ideas and concepts, so I would like to censor the opposition. Please kick Edward Snowden off Twitter.